Welcome to Sean's Thoughts. My name is Sean, and you're here with me on my channel today. Let me just click that. Click that again. So today I'm sharing in the background one of my most favorite videos because this particular video that I'm playing, I dedicated to a woman named Kim Gogan. And Kim Gogan is the director of the Global Intelligence Agency, and I follow her reports about what's happening in the world and the changes that are going on. And this video, I guess, is a dedication to her, and the information I put on it was unique in the fact that when she reports her reports to us, she often discussed throughout the 2 years that I've been following her all these different visions or things she envisions, or the things, or you could say impassioned projects perhaps, or associations that have already been created, or anyways. And she had all these other interesting ideas and visions of what our future holds. So what I did in this particular one is I took those visions and I brought them together in this particular I Foresee video. And so it's essentially a declaration of love, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So yeah, we'll explain all that. And happy Valentine's Day to everyone. And I'm sure everyone's having a different experience of Valentine's Day, and that's perfectly acceptable. I imagine most people that are listening to what I have to say are not doing it snuggled up with someone and together listening. And if you are, that's awesome that your love is that advanced. Anyways, so yeah, happy Valentine's Day. See, for me, Valentine's Day is just a commercial exploitation of what love is. And I guess I never really bought into the whole routine, but it's definitely still an amazing day of red and hearts and, showing you love people with chocolate. But what I wanted to talk about and to essentially discuss tonight is about love, because my understanding of love has shifted so dramatically over the last few years. I ran across this book called I Am the Word, and in there's a passage which I talk about actually in my podcast previously about this particular part of the book, and it talks about how love is what connects us, it's what unites us, it's what bonds us. And the feeling of love, of real love, not lustful love or romantic love or possessive love, but real love, a frequency of love, is what unites and connects all of us. And perhaps the feeling of being in alignment with God would be to feel that love, that frequency of love. Often Kim tells us about how love is a quantum equation, and for me to go online, so one day I'm going to do that. I'm going to go online and figure out how the letters of love are an actual equation. Anyway, so tonight I wanted to kind of talk more about what love is. And yeah, I to be honest, I just, I was doing my practice of meditation, and I just suddenly thought today, yeah, Valentine's Day, it's definitely a day to talk about love. And it's like, well, maybe I should write down some notes. And then something in my mind's like, no, just talk. You'll find what you need to say. See, love for me and for essentially the journey of my channel has been one of the founding pillars. Love, I think, is something that we can all benefit from, and benefit from receiving more. I often say that when I'm giving likes on comments or videos or like posts and everything, I generally will comment or I mean, sorry, I will generally provide that little snap of love, which I see as a like. I see the like as being a little bit of love, like acknowledgement, yes, but also love that, you know, I feel that when people receive any sort of connection, whether it be the connection of just commenting on someone's post or liking someone's post random, I see all of that as slight expressions of love. And if essentially we can experience more love all together unanimously all at once, the whole damn planet, if we could experience all of us just a little bit more love, would that be enough to shift us into the reality that we would choose? I think love is one of the easier, perhaps, ingredients to add to our frequency to elevate us. Because love comes in many different forms, just like I had said about this particular video. This video I created in gratitude for Kim Gogan's amazing efforts at, well, the work that she claims to be doing. And I eagerly await to see this change in my life. And yet it's interesting that there are certain times when so much of what she says I'm able to see for a short moment in different ways if I sit and think about it. And yet I'm definitely sitting here with that feeling of love and that feeling of gratitude. That's where I was going with that whole, going back to talking about her. It's gratitude is an example of love and expressing gratitude for all that you have. And equally, just like I was reading in the book, The Secret today, I know I said before about how it lacked an ingredient, yet The Secret is still a phenomenal book to read about someone else's experiences of how she completely turned her life around by researching something that she had become so passionate about. Anyways, regardless of anything exterior behind the book, the story is pretty amazing. And she has this book that allows you to write down your gratitude for what you have. And it can be everything and anything. And it mentions even like just saying, like just closing your eyes or speaking out loud or speaking to quietly yourself, maybe even just moving your lips while you're on the bus going to work, just saying thank you. Or you can say merci. Or you can say, oh, sheishe, domo arigato gozaimasu. Or whatever it is, that language that you choose to use, to say thank you 20 times and just keep repeating it. And they also mention saying it from the heart, or envision your heart energy shooting from your heart. Like when I did it and I had the idea, just as I was reading the book, of saying thank you, I could feel the pulse from my heart. It was really interesting. But anyways, that could have just been me making it up, or I could have actually been up a notch or something. So love is gratitude, and love is also respect. That's another one. And in this world, I see there being so much more need for respect. And so maybe, adding to the collective consciousness of raising our vibration, showing the world more respect. Not just in nature not just in nature, that's of course an important one, but I mean not just because of, the big things. Just showing nature overall, like even the small things, even the mosquitoes and the ants and all these small things. But just overall having a lot more respect for everything, even I'll say for the homeless people, because the point is they're people. Doesn't matter the adjective that got thrown on top, and it really doesn't matter the reason. Actually, that reason, I would say, is a really big example of projection and how we project certain limitations perhaps on others that we oh, I love this commercial that keeps repeating. Tony Robbins has so many commercials right now. Anyways, it's projecting when we have this idea and expectation of why, for instance, even a homeless person was homeless. So having that respect for that person that made that choice to have that experience, whether that choice was made, you know, in the 3D or in the 5D, the point being is just trusting that the choices were made. So yeah, love comes in so many different forms. Compassion is loving people just because they're them for whatever reason. You know, if we were to possibly, and I only float this idea out there, but possibly accept people more for who they are in that moment because they're here in that moment, and to look past any sort of label as if they're that job worker or that job title or whatever it is, and just, you know, accept them for who they are without judgment. See, even in acceptance, we find love. And you could almost say that love is elements of all higher vibrational emotions. Even seeing beauty in something, you feel love. Now, it's often connected with a woman looking beautiful, and you, oh, the man, I love her because she's beautiful. But yet, it's because beauty itself also holds love in it. Even when we sit there for long durations of times, and like my do no thing videos, and we're looking at these unique, or maybe not even unique yet, that we're truly taking in that moment, you find love in that as well. So there is so much out there to love. And of course, then there comes into physical love, like loving our partners and loving our children. I like that saying from the Paul Selig book, to something along the lines of to love your husband. If you say you love your husband like you say you love the postman, or something along the lines of that, you're on the right track. And that's, I guess, well, on the right track of discovering what real love is. See, the news media has done things like single out single days that maybe will have some sort of alignment with something or other, and that to create a whole story about them, to name them after a certain character, so you got a narrative. And then if that wasn't enough, because, you know, we're not living in a more church going days, you surround it with something else. And in this case, it was chocolate, and it was, well, chocolate. But the point being is they surround it by a day that it kind of creates shame and guilt, especially if you don't play within their ballpark. There's a lot of programs out there that definitely do get us to create shames and guilts for not playing the game of the normal world. You know, the interesting thing I saw on TV today was they actually were reporting on the percentage over last year of consumer spending on Valentine's Day. Like they're turning it in, and they're actually being openly honest that that's what the purpose is to increase money. And it's as if they're, in a sense, reporting to their own colleagues about how much more money that they're getting this year over previous years. I know the whole reason is to suggest the idea that the economy is doing normal, or in this case doing 20% over last year's sales, as if to suggest that things are better. Yet, you know, even me in this small city that I live in, I can definitely see that things are different considerably when it comes to consumer spending. But we're back on the topic of love, because love, I've honestly felt it throughout my years with almost every true relationship I had. Like, love was giving oneself over, but I never really understood about learning to discern between my feelings or my energies or my partner's feelings and my partner's energies. So often there would be a mixing, feeling what she was feeling and not realizing that it was not me, and then me responding sometimes. And I say she as in any argument. Often when we're in relationships and there is love, there is that best friend bond. I would call that a great example of love, like partners that feel like best friends. When you have that, it's challenging to discern, perhaps while I was awakening, to know that. And you get in, even in love, the relationships will get into problem areas. And I've often talked about this book called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. It's an amazing book to read. I would love, just as the other book that I was talking about, to have different, essentially, parties or conferences where we just all sit back, read the book, and study it all together. Because, one of the things that I've often spoke about is perspective, and everyone's perspective is different. And yet, programming has us believing that everyone almost thinks the same, meaning that that's kind of what they want us to do. They want us to all think the same, to toe the line, to all grab from that what they call common sense. And yet, we're all different and we're all unique. And I think that that's one of the things that God gave us, is uniqueness. So he, she, source, God, whatever word we want to choose, that he gave us the ability to all be uniquely different, so that therefore he could see or experience this reality through us. And I don't want to go off into the Matrix stuff and all, because this is not about the Matrix. This is about love. But yet, in a sense, this is also about leaving the Matrix, because our natural state is love. It's not greed. It's not anger. It's not fighting or survival. It's not trying to see who got the biggest rims or the best car or the best hair or the best anything. It's about existing in a state of love and creating from that. And perhaps that's why I spent so much of my channel talking about love. In fact, I have a video, Illuminating Language, where I essentially define love, or I would rather say illuminate the word. And when you listen to this video, I'm giving certain information about the word. I try to do it poetically. And the reason why this is when we illuminate a word, when we truly understand the word, the meaning, the synonyms and antonyms and derivatives and origins and etymology and all that stuff, when we really understand words, it helps us essentially empower that word, so that when we do use that word, we're now using it differently. It's kind of very similar to, sorry, I'm just going to skip through this ad. I'm so excited today, and this is a side note, today they started playing ads when I watch my own videos, because I actually discovered several different things, settings we'll say, that I've been doing incorrectly while making my videos. So I've recently changed all these settings, and now suddenly they're advertising on my videos. So that's really, really, really cool. So where were we? Far off to where we were, but we know it is all about love. So back to relationship love. Love is also an example of love, would be repairing relationships that were repairable. Because first of all, not all relationships are. However, love in repairing relationships offers considerable amount of forgiveness. So you add that love into your life, that allows a little more time of not being in fight or flight. And then it gives us the opportunity to reflect upon and possibly even therefore forgive, which increases the amount of love. One of the fascinating things that I heard from Kim Gogan was that love and fear are opposites. And it really, really does make sense when I think about it. And now I'm just kind of free spitballing or talking off the top of my head. But, you know, when there is love, there is no fear. And when there is fear, there is no love. We believed before that love and hate were opposites, or at least that's what I thought learnt when I was growing up. And yet, yeah, the love and fear thing truly does resonate. I definitely encourage you to go and listen to her podcast. They're phenomenal, insightful, and awful. No, odd-fill. Yeah, odd-fill. I would say awesome, but I eliminated that word and I try not to use that word as much anymore. Anyways, so yeah, we are talking all about love, and love has so many different avenues to be in our life. So we've talked also just recently about forgiveness. See, I think forgiveness is a key fundamental of us perhaps exiting this matrix. There's a lot of different situations in our world where we all didn't have as much free will as we were, shown on the movie screen. Movie screen being the whole entire life that we each lived. Now, I definitely recognize that I'm also speaking to a smaller population of people who are either woken lots up and, kind of just reflecting to see what's happening right now, or people who are just waking up. I think that I kind of started this channel with finding those people who were just waking up, in a sense, just waking up, meaning people like myself. And I realized that important part of this whole process is we've, in a sense, all been scattered everywhere as we are, grounding our love or our energy and into our own little areas and communities. And yet there will eventually come a time when we start uniting and we start connecting those bonds of love, all of us understanding that love isn't what we were, told in the Valentine's Day card. Love wasn't what we saw in the movies. It definitely wasn't what we saw in the movies. And people come in all different shapes and forms. It's actually one of my most beautiful images on one of my videos to do with love is this really oddly shaped couple, tall guy, really short girl, I think it was, and she's holding him and he's jumped. It was an amazing piece of art that I co-created with Jasper AI. Anyways, a really good example of the picture version of love. Actually, a really amazing thing about my videos is that most of them are around the ideas of love. And even when I was creating the art that we see on there, I was instilling it with all the words of love, because love itself, the word and the intention when saying it, has power. So when we use that word, and especially if we have illuminated it, we are therefore having that energy that we're creating. See, because we are so much more powerful than we even realize. And the more love that we connect with in our creative arts, for example, in our singing and dancing, the more that we express love. Once again, I'm not meaning just the sexual man and woman or couple love, man and man, or woman and woman, whatever it is. I mean that we express love and through all these other methods, that will essentially empower us to perhaps crack the veil a little bit quicker for everyone else. Well, us too, but I mean the whole entire world. So when you're thinking of love, love isn't a possessive thing. They turned it into love being a contract, a marriage contract, and it got connected to the government, and then it got connected to taxes, and then it got connected to all this other stuff. And they did it by taking away a whole bunch and then giving a little bit of a way back, and then saying, well, you might not get it back if you don't follow the rules, or you won't get anything. That we've overpriced that people who aren't in the system, it's hard for people to exist outside the system. And essentially an absence of love, meaning that everyone's living in fear. And so I don't know why I was going off on all that tangent, because I wanted to keep all of this as loving as possible. And yet, as we move forward, our love will get stronger and we will start coming together. And then we'll start co-creating all of those ideas, perhaps some of the ones that I've come up with. Like, I would love to be in a community out in the middle of the forest creating a project, even if it wasn't my project. And so I truly look forward to the strengthening of global love. Not love with, a cause behind it, or some sort of fundraising scam or scheme or even fund, but love as in everyone having a common goal, because that's essentially how I see New Earth of a new Earth of Homo sapiens working and coexisting and co-creating and, you know, collaborating on their communities. And no longer will we need to have such dense amount of people. Therefore, we won't need all of these apartment buildings that, you know, yeah, when I was growing up and being in a house, I always wanted to be in an apartment building on a higher level. Now I want to be back in a house surrounded by a forest in love, and surrounded by love and the love of the forest. See, love with, even with nature. Hug a tree. It's a really, really wonderful thing to do. So I think I'm going to conclude there. I hope you will, share this with someone else. And only through love, honestly, are we going to propel ourselves to to an existence that's outside of what most people ever thought was possible. And that I totally do believe, with the right amount of love and the removal of jealousy, the removal of envy, the removal of, well, hate, removal of fear as much as possible, with the removal of all of that and the acceleration of the other side, I really do think a bright, brand new world that's still standing all around us right now. It's just we're not able to see it yet. We just need to be aligned, and love will take us there. So thank you so much for sharing your attention with me. And remember, the more times you listen, I guarantee you're going to get something different out of any talk that anyone does. If it really resonates with you, if you ever hear a talk and it really resonates with you, listen multiple times, because you'll pick up new things that you didn't hear. So many different reasons for that. We won't get into that right now, but definitely listen a lot, and, let's build love through all of those methods that I talked about. So thank you so much for sharing your attention with me, and I look forward to creating more love with everyone. Good night.